Hello and thank you for joining me today. Welcome to my channel. We're going to be having a quick look today at some of the watercolour brushes, a little bit of a beginner's guide to the types and sizes of brushes, but also a quick talk through my favourites and which ones I use the most. So I'll just pop those ones to the side for one moment. I'll go through those in a minute. So basically brushes are sorted into sizes and types. So the higher the number, the larger the brush. So there we've got a number 20 and you can see that's quite a sizable brush. And that one is a round. So usually they have it written on, so that makes it quite easy for us. And a round is a very good brush to have as a general brush, and I would really recommend having one. I use this one a lot, but I also use lower numbers. So something like a number 6 is a really good beginner's one to start with. A number 6 round brush is something I would recommend as a beginner to have in your first sort of watercolour brush set. So don't feel that you have to go out and buy every single size and shape of brush, because obviously they're quite costly. So you just need a few to begin with. So I would recommend you have a round one, but I would also recommend you have a nice big flat one. So this one is 1 inch and a 1 inch flat brush, and that holds a lot of paint. So really we'll start with this one. I use this one a lot. You'll have seen me using it before. Like I say, it holds an awful lot of paint. So, and the reason for that is it's useful to get a nice wash. So when you start to do your background colours, your flat washes of your sky, you want a brush that's going to hold plenty of paint and not run out of paint. So apply an even pressure as you go across the page and your brush shouldn't run out. Okay, so that's why you need a really nice big flat brush, but also you can actually use it for drawing with. If you use the end, I like to use it like this as well. So I would recommend, for those of you that are beginners to watercolour, just getting a scrap piece of watercolour paper and having a play with your brushes and seeing what shapes you can make with them. Yeah, so we've already started to get with one brush a variety of lines and shapes. Oops, sorry about that. So I'll pop that one to one side. So that was a 1 inch flat brush, and that's probably big enough for most applications as a beginner that you're going to need. I don't have anything bigger than that in a flat brush. Another one I use a lot that I really like, but it's not an essential one by any means, is an angle. So as you can see, it's flat, but it's shaped at an angle. You can also get ones called Dagger Brushes. I'm not going to show you every single one today that I've got because, you know, we could go on forever. But you've got these angled ones and Dagger Brushes, and again you can get really nice shapes with those. So you get a nice line, all sorts of things, so just play with it. So if you twist it as you go, you're going to get some really nice shapes. Okay. That's another one I like because you can use them on the side and use the end. With both of these you can actually draw with the edge, get a nice sharp edge, but also apply a lot of paint at the same time. And I should have said those are both synthetic brushes. All these ones I'm using at the moment are synthetic, and of course synthetic brushes are much cheaper than your Sable brushes and your animal hairs. So, but actually they're very good. They've improved immensely and they hold plenty of water, so it's a good thing to have. So go on to this one, which like I say I've used quite a bit, and I should have said with those two I pop them straight into the paint and dry, but it's actually quite a good idea to have your brushes wet before you begin painting, because it's much easier for them to take up the paint when they're already damp. So with your round brushes you want one that's nice and uniform and comes to a nice point with no stray hairs. And again you can vary the shape by varying the pressure. So press down, lift up, you can get a nice straight line right through to a very fine line if you take the pressure off. So that's why round brushes are so useful. And why you need a nice tip. So that's a good size to have if you like to paint quite big. If you want a bit more detail, you might want to go for something smaller. So exactly the same, it's a round brush, but a different size. So this is a number 6. So we've gone from 20 down to 6. So anything in between you might like as well, but you're not going to want to buy every single size. But of course with this one, you're not going to get as much coverage on your paper. But you can get some nice lines, and it really depends on the pressure you apply. So it's not just about how much paint you put in on your brush, it's also how much pressure. So you can be very delicate, allow it to run out of paint. Get some techniques where you've allowed it to run out of paint, like the dry brush technique. I went through these texture techniques in another video. If you've not seen that related to the textures that you can get up with watercolour, I'll put the link to that up there. But that's something you can do. So with all your brushes, as well as using them on their end, you can use them on the side to get more coverage. So as a beginner, I would recommend a large flat brush and a sort of medium-sized, anywhere between sort of 8 and 10 size round brush with a nice end to it. Another brush you can get, and I don't use this one very much, this is a mop one, and can you see it's shaped at the end. So these bristles here are much shorter than the ones here. They don't go all the way to the end. It's very shaped, and this can be useful for those of you who like flower painting. I'll just put some water on that because I've not used it for a while, so it's very dry. Try and fill that up with some paint. And this is actually a squirrel one, but just with one lay down of the brush you're actually getting a flower shape because it's shaped so nicely. But also you can use the end as well. Apply different pressure, allow it to come off, but you're gonna get different shapes to the round one because it's very soft at the end. You're not going to be able to do the detail that you might be able to do with a round brush. And just dry that one out. We're going to run out of paper before we've gone through all these brushes, aren't we? Have to start again at the top. So another one is a mop brush. Again, well, that was a mop brush, but this is a different one, a synthetic one, and it's, again, the hairs here are shorter than the ones here, so it's rounded at the end. It's not coming to a point, so it will hold an awful lot of water. I'm not going to put that one onto here because it will just make a big mess if we add water to all these colours that we've already got on. I actually use this one quite often for brushing off, you know, when I've been doing brush oils and things like that, or for charcoals, but it's really for putting down big swathes of paint using lots of water. So you probably want to be using this on a very big piece of paper with a very heavy paper that takes plenty of water. So that does hold an awful lot of water if you want to work big. Okay, and these ones are fan brushes. So you can get them again. This is a synthetic one, this is a Badger one. So how they are really depends on what they're made of and how big they are. Again, you can get them in different sizes. That one's a 6. I'm not sure what that one is. It's rubbed off. So yes, that's the number 6 one. So I'll pop some purple on there. And this is good for things like grasses. If you're painting on a large scale and you're doing a lot of grass, you can do it all quite quickly. Just wash that one out. And this is the Badger one. And the effect also will depend on how much water you've got compared to the amount of paint pigment, so how dry your paint is. But this one's a bit finer, so my arm's in the way there. So whereas before we were drawing a grass sort of shape with the brush, which would take you a very long time doing each line at once, with this one you've got lots of lines and you can very quickly make it look like some grass or other things, whatever you're doing, varying the angle. Okay, now I've actually couldn't find my rigger brush. A rigger brush is like these are called half liners. So a rigger brush would actually be a lot longer than that and come out to here. I've had them for a while, so they're actually a bit splayed. But it's as it sounds. For doing very fine detail like the rigging on ships, you want a very long, narrow brush. So that's actually a size 0 and that's a size 4. So we'll just have a look at the 0. So these are half liners. You can get half liners and riggers for doing nice, long, fine lines. So like I said, most of those are synthetic brushes, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with using synthetic brushes. They're nice and robust, and you've got that full range of sizes. But I do also have a few Sable brushes, which of course are much more expensive. The biggest difference is they hold more paint. So if we take a look at this one, and you will get a finer point as well if you've got a much more expensive brush. So we've lost the number or anything on that one because I've had it so many years, all the coatings come off, but I would say it's about a number 6, something like that. Again, we're running out of paper. But you can see you're not going to run out of paint very quickly, so you can paint for longer without reapplying, refilling your brush, and you can go from quite thick lines again to quite fine lines, and put plenty down by laying it on its side. And this is a smaller one and a different make. So I've got all different makes. I should have said we've got from student quality ones to artist ones. There's nothing wrong with the student quality ones. These are the Dale Rowney graduate series. I've also got some Winsor & Newton Cotman ones, some SAA ones. This is an SAA one, but it's a Sable one. So as you can see, once it's wet, we come to a, sorry, it's got a bit of a hair on the end of it. Once it's wet, we come to a nice point with that, and we can get some nice fine detail by working with the end of the brush. So I really do like my Sable brushes, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with using synthetic ones. So if I was going to recommend any, I would say the Cotman ones and the SAA series of student ones, and also I've got Jackson ones, so all sorts. I really do like the Dale Rowney ones because they're so cheap, but they're probably not the best. So the Cotman ones are probably a bit more expensive than the Dale Rowney ones, but they are slightly better. So it really depends on your budget. You want ones that aren't going to have loose hairs everywhere within a few weeks of using them. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions regarding the brushes I've used or any other brushes that you may have seen that you're not sure about the applications of, if you just want to put those in the comments below. And if you've got any favourite brushes that you really like, tell us about them too and give some hints and tips to other beginners. That would be great. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you found that useful, and I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.